All right, hello, my students. How's everyone doing today? So, we're going to be discussing Leonardo da Vinci today. Last week, we were discussing Raphael, the Italian painter. So, today, we're going to start discussing Leonardo da Vinci. But, really quick, I want us to actually review Raphael's paintings. So I would like for one of my students to actually go to the board and see can they match the title of the painting to the painting. So I want you guys to pick up the pen tool that is on the smart board, and I want you to how you would match on a piece of paper. So I want you to start off. So just guess and see which title actually goes with the painting. Okay, that one is correct. Okay, guess the next two. All right, those are correct. I'm glad you guys actually retained the information that we talked about Raphael and his most famous artworks. So we're going to get started with Leonardo da Vinci. But really quick, I do have one of his most famous paintings up here. Now, I want you guys to take a guess. It's one of the most famous paintings he has made, and it's just notorious because of the smile that's on the lady's face. So can you guys take a guess of what it is? No, a lot of you are correct. A lot of you are saying Mona Lisa. That sounds correct to me. So let's see. Let's move the box and see. Oh, and you guys are correct. That is correct. It is the Mona Lisa. So we're gonna deep dive into Leonardo da Vinci. We're gonna discuss his life, discuss 2 or 3 of his famous artworks, and the Mona Lisa is one of them. And we're gonna talk about proportions because Leonardo da Vinci was big on proportions. So we're gonna discuss his life. So Leonardo da Vinci was born April 15th, 1452 in Italy. He was considered the greatest Renaissance man who ever lived. He was a scientist, inventor, painter, sculptor, writer, and musician. So Leonardo da Vinci could just do anything, basically. So his artwork was painting in the Renaissance style, which emphasized human beings, their environment, science, and philosophy. So that's like the Mona Lisa. He focused mainly on the environment and plus the human being. The environment in the background is an imaginary environment. And he also focused on science in his work because he would focus on proportions as well to get the human proportions right. All right, so some of his discoveries would be a conceptualized helicopter, a tank, a calculator, and he also kept all his ideas inside of a journal. And he would use code writing so that his theories could not be stolen. And they say there was over 13,000 pages that have been discovered. So I'm not sure there are more. Probably there are more. And these are a few of the journal entries that were found. And so you can see like he focused on like the anatomy of the human body. You see how like he drew like the human arm as in like the skeleton, and you see how he drew it bending, he drew it apart, and this will be able to use like that way he could get the proportions right or either movement of the human arm. So we're actually going to start discussing 2 of his famous artworks. So the first one would be The Last Supper. The Last Supper is located in Milan, Italy, and it took Leonardo da Vinci over 3 years to complete this artwork. And he used like an experiment where he mixed tempera paint I believe tempera paint and oil, and he used it on dry plaster. Usually if they wanted to paint on a wall, it would have to be on wet plaster. That way the pigments would be integrated into the wall. But he wanted to experiment and see could he do it on top of dry plaster. Unfortunately, this experiment did not work, and after 3 years of the painting being on the wall, it started to deteriorate, and that caused the paint to flake off. Now, there's also one other fact about this painting. So, can you guys guess? Like, look around the painting. What would be another fact about this painting? What is it showing? All right, so I've heard a few guesses. Some of you are saying like the reaction. Some of you are saying like this depicting like a certain scene from a Bible. So I want someone to go up to the board and actually remove the box for me and see what the third fact would be. And yes, it is depicting reaction. So this scene is actually from a Bible. It's actually from the Bible. And it's depicting the time when Jesus told his disciples that someone was going to betray him. And this is the reaction everyone got when Jesus said that. All right, the second artwork would be the Mona Lisa, which we were talking about earlier. And it is one of the famous artworks, including the Last Supper, because of the fact that it is a first portrait with an imaginary background. This background is not real. Leonardo da Vinci came up with this background. And plus, Mona Lisa's smile and the way she is looking at the viewer. Usually with portraits, the sitter would be facing maybe in the opposite direction, would be looking off to the side, but in Mona Lisa, she is actually looking at the viewer. So this actually draws the viewer in. It makes you wonder like, oh, what is she thinking? What is going on? Like, and then plus too, like the painter who's painting her, maybe she's seeing how the painter looks. Maybe we're trying to guess what she's seeing in the background, so it captivates the viewer. And this painting also took Da Vinci a few years to complete. Now we're going to start to go into Leonardo's interest in proportions. So Leonardo, during the Renaissance, painters really focused on the science and kind of like behind how the human body works, how it moves. So Leonardo was very interested in that. He wanted to learn how the human body moved, how it bend, and he would always sketch proportions, or he would sketch human skeletons, he would sketch brains, skulls, just to see like human proportions. So like these are a few human proportions we can talk about today. So actually the palm is the width of 4 fingers. So if you look at your palm and you will see, like, and actually look at like your 4 fingers, you will actually see that it is the width of your 4 fingers. And also that the length of a man's like outspread arms, so if their arms are like spread out, is actually equal to his length. So if you were to spread your arms out and we were to measure, it is stated that this will actually be your height. So we're actually going to get into the project. So our project is going to be on facial proportions. So as I said, Leonardo was very interested in human proportions, human body proportions, how it moved, and he was also interested in the human face. So you guys learned how to actually measure a face. So when you're sketching, you would section your face off into 3 sections, so that way it will be a line down the middle, that way the face was in half, and you have 3 lines going across. So the 3 lines would be for the eyes, nose, and mouth. So you guys are going to be focused on proportions and actually where they would sit on the face. So when we get into that, you guys are going to grab pencil and paper and you're going to log into your canvas. And I have drawing videos that you guys can look at. That way you can see how to draw eyes, you can see how to draw a mouth, you can see how to draw a nose. That way you can get it as realistic as you can and actually have it in the right proportions.